When a customer comes to me at the bank, I want them to feel like it's on a personal level. A lot of my existing customers, I feel like we're more family than just a customer-banker relationship, and that I'm doing everything I can to help them. And when they leave my desk, I want them to say, wow, that Shelly Kearns at Happy State Bank really cares about me, and I want them to tell their friends and family that.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. And Mr. City Manager, we'll turn it over to you to go through the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. We've got one of our annual, very exciting events on the agenda today. We'll take that up briefly, but to begin with the minutes, I think we could conclusively prove that you have earned your $10. We've got 4
Now,
sets.
don't we get 10 for each one of those meetings?
You know that's actually how it's worded.
I think it is.
They just made $1,000.
Yes, you do. Let's just answer it. Yes, you do.
Okay,
Regardless,
the minutes, while I was with you all in spirit on Saturday, I was not physically there.
What
On
date
the
was that?
Saturday, the 14th. I wish I could have been there,
that
but
is,
I
that is
wasn't.
correct. That is correct. Vicki, behind me somewhere? Could you get Donna if we can reprint that one pretty briefly?
14th
The 14th, please remove
Yeah, I wasn't there
Commissioner
Saturday.
Escajeda.
at the fire department.
At the where?
Fire
At the fire
department
department.
training.
Does everybody enjoy the fire department?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
every one of them is
That was
good.
good.
Every single visit.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I drove a fire truck. I'll have to go out there and get.
A ladder truck and a trash truck, a crash truck. We don't call it crash.
My
We call it
grandkids love those.
Arf.
Pretty-
Arf.
I get in trouble for calling them crash trucks.
Got your own siren. Yeah, you did. They told me I come out for training.
And I asked Vicki to look at that. We may have a double print on one of those, Vicki, so Vicki will check that and we'll bring it right back. Make the change for Commissioner Escajeda. Okay, item 2. Item 2, this is the bring back of the one particular amendment to your taxi cab ordinance. Pretty much in accordance with Mr. Jewett in the presentation he made you and in the discussion that we had last week. If you would turn to the backup for item 2, we're amending only letter K. And this says that there will not be a non-paying person in the taxi cab other than someone that's being trained to be a driver, or someone that's under the auspices of a voluntary program that allows the drivers to transport a person 18 or older, or younger if accompanied by an adult, who's either impaired, indigent, needy, disability, etc. This does allow those taxi cabs that choose to, it does not require them, but if they choose then to participate in any of these programs that allow for rides for folks leaving places late at night, or if they have customers that they want to be able to service and not necessarily expecting to be paid, they are able to do so.
Excuse me, go ahead.
Why would we need a K at all? What trouble could we get into with unauthorized passengers?
Say it.
Historically, the concerns for many taxi ordinances was to control bootlegging and prostitution that accompanied that industry in bygone years, and which on rare occasion now raises its head still, and is dealt with individually when it does.
You also
You don't have a taxi driver chauffeuring prostitutes around. They were required to be paying customers.
And in modern day terms, you also run into the deal to where you've called for a cab and your cab arrives and the driver's in there as you expect, and there may well be another 1 or 2 persons who are not necessarily fares for that day.
The passenger just.
That would be a problem.
Who may make you feel very uncomfortable with your comments and
that would be a
suggestions.
problem.
It could be
What-
right in the
Now,
system.
is it true that we regulate the upper end of what they can charge, but not the lower end?
That's the way that ordinance is written.
That's correct.
That's what I
It's
heard.
been the,
They're required. So in some regards, it would be the lower.
I have to go back and look. I know we put a separate rate in for the airport trip charge, and it is a defined rate. But I'm not positive that there's a bottom on your general fares.
So the competition is not restricted if somebody wants to get lower, only if they.
Let us
I think
verify
it-
that.
That's the way I remember.
But that's, I think the discussion, if I recall, has always been that this commission has chosen to set caps
Right.
rather than to set a prescriptive.
We'll
The
bring it back
airport
to
is an
report.
exception, it's a trip charge.
But that won't hold us up from approving this,
No.
I think
these
there's another,
changes.
there's another floor reserve that will happen. Wait on your.
We'll review the rates and bring you information.
That comes up about once a year, so we should,
If you want to pull that string.
I got
You opened
two
up
calls.
the can.
I didn't, I was responding to what the manager said, I'm sorry.
It's gonna be Brian and
No, but I
Dollar's
think
Crab
we-
Company.
You want to push that button?
there-
Well, I just say I got two calls about this week. One that wanted no bottom, and the other wanted a higher bottom end. Competitors out. I explained to him I didn't have that luxury.
I think his last name start with a one.
Well, I get that.
previous commissions have discussed, and I know it was an item near and dear to Mayor McCart's heart, rhymed, didn't it? Was an effort to truly look at our taxi cab ordinances in a comprehensive manner and see if there aren't certain updates that shouldn't be made. And I think that there should be. I think the discussion needs to be held. I would just suggest from past experience, those won't be simple.
Didn't sound like it from the phone call I got.
They're not, but nonetheless, I think we should do that. The item before us today does, I believe, address what's been presented to you as an immediate issue, and it fixes that.
And it makes sense.
And it makes sense,
Sure.
good logic.
And it's a common sense.
We can move forward and maybe, and I sure hate to postpone stuff, but if we could maybe pick up the remainder of the taxi cab stuff around September.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, we put it on our priority list on,
The future.
Bottom.
Future.
we got other things to worry about.
Okay. Further questions on the change to letter K of the taxi cab ordinance? Moving right along, item 3, resolution public hearing. This resolution does not condemn properties. This sets the date at which you will consider these properties for potential condemnation. You have the one at 0 North Hayes and at 1014 Northwest 3rd.
It's actually 20 North Hayes.
It's actually 20. I might
You
ask.
might
them
ask
that-
Vicki, it is, that address is not correct, I couldn't find it. She told me it was an open field at 20 North Hayes. It was but I'm not positive of that address.
We will have. a
Zero,
map on you.
there's Vicki, 0 North Hayes is in the middle of the railroad tracks. You can't get it to it from the north, the south, or the east, or the west.
What's somebody doing with much trash there?
Yes, if we could, Vicki, when we have that for sure,
Yes,
let's have that corrected as part of the motion.
okay.
Who's is that gonna be correct?
It's item 3, so that would be Commissioner Eads, I believe.
I'm not, do you know, is it 20 North? Isn't that what you told her?
It's at 20th, yeah, north of 20th
20.
Street. But we'll get that confirmed.
I'll just correct it in the motion.
Okay.
They'll have the file available for that. Okay, now the fun one would be even more fun if more funding was available. This is your annual hearing and subsequent approval of the Consolidated Action Plan as put together by your Community Development Advisory Committee. As such, we have longstanding chairperson, Mr. James Allen. For representing.
Yes, sir.
Of course, we have
I just bring this.
Ms. Vicki Covey and Dion Kaufman. This is a committee that I know y'all are well aware of their efforts and what they do on your behalf. I guess, James, would it be fair to say it's a enjoyable job because you're getting to help people, but maybe the downside to it is you realize how much more help is often needed
That's exactly
and is
correct.
not available.
We gotta make tough decisions.
Very tough. And I also wanted to introduce Chuck Parr. Most of you guys know Chuck. He's also on our committee.
hi,
He's,
Chuck.
Hey, Chuck?
he's,
Just
he
sit in
just
there.
walked in. He just walked in, believe me.
Sorry. Yeah, that was, he just,
Snuck in,
he
baby.
just
All right,
walked in
Chuck.
behind
I
you.
see you sitting there.
No, I just snuck in. I'm late.
I just want you to get, first of all, thank you for allowing us to come and participate again and assist the city in making these tough decisions. I always like to show you the size of our application handbook so you kind of know what we go through. So this is the entire applications that we looked at. So it's always fun. We had about $1 million, in excess of $1 million to cut from our requests, and that's on top of a 15% cut that we received from HUD this past year. We've heard numbers like 10% this coming year. Now with the budget situation, that could be 10% might be a favorable number, maybe more. I don't know. So we'll just kind of play that by ear. But it does create more challenges for this community, for the city to address needs here in Amarillo that I think are probably going to be a growing need. I think the next census will probably indicate that as far as poverty level and whatnot. I think you all have both of the sheets, the 8.5 by 11, and also the, okay. What I'll do is, with your permission, I'll just go through them real quickly and tell you what our recommendations were to you. And if you have a question, jump right in there and I'll do my best to answer it. If not, Chuck can pick up the slack for me. But, we'll start with park improvements, and you'll see Hamlet Park, $180,000 recommendation. That's for a splash pad for that community. Building safety, community improvement inspector, $56,467. You can see it better. That is that person primarily does inspections inside the target area, so we get more bang for our buck. We've probably filled that position maybe 5 years now, 4 or 5 years.
Did you say that position has been in effect for that?
Yes, and it came from a discussion at our committee meetings that we wanted more inspections, more intervention into some of the community. So we stepped up as a committee, and the city agreed that we would hire another inspector, and it's been beneficial since then. Because I think altogether we have 5 inspectors for the whole city of Amarillo. That's a lot of work for 5 people.
Yeah.
This is the 5th one, so we had 4 prior to this.
And this is the target area inspector.
Correct.
They have a home turf to concentrate their efforts in.
So yes, it has to be very beneficial.
Does this pay a whole salary and benefits?
Yes.
Okay.
Next item, demolition and clearance. We're recommending $40,000. That's, of course, to help alleviate some of the slum and blighted areas. We've done this for years, and we're making an impact. Sometimes it seems like it's long in coming, but we do make an impact as far as cleaning up some of the dilapidated structures and whatnot, and getting those things done. Any questions in that category? Okay, next you'll see a $75,000 recommendation for the Community Development Micro Loan Program. 2 or 3 years ago, we thought we need to look at some attempts for economic development and helping in some lower income areas, and we developed this program to provide low interest rate loans to business people that have businesses in the target area. It's not as successful as we'd like, but I think we're going to look at some changes that may make it a little bit more successful program in the future.
Do you not meter it out enough, or what's not successful?
Probably, really, the demand is not, it hasn't really materialized like we would like, and maybe we need to take a different approach. So the group that's been allocated the funding, they're going to come up with some recommendations for us at a future meeting to help improve that. Give us some ideas.
Is that PRPC?
Well, no.
It used to be.
Yeah,
Okay.
AEDC now.
And one of the things that he said was, they still require a lot of money down. It's almost just like a bank, and that was one of the
Right.
problems. These people that we're trying to make loans to don't really have the money to start their small business, so, or to start or keep it going, right?
So this is, I think in principle, it's a great program. We need to revamp it, and that's what's going to be done. So it will have a different format in the upcoming year.
A little bit more liberal. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Do they use this for capital funds, or can they use it for inventories, or just whatever they want?
Yes, it can be used for any of
Pretty
those
broad
combinations.
spectrum.
Yes.
Okay.
Didn't it start out being a fund of $100,000?
I
We
believe.
funded it originally,
I think
because you,
that's-
Because
Emerald
the bank,
National Bank
the bank,
matched with
yeah.
$15,000.
I got to put in the difference.
That was 3 years ago, we
you're
initially
right.
funded that. So,
Okay, this isn't the only small loan program, because PRPC has its micro loan
Correct.
program, which is a revolving loan fund, so.
This is the only one that community development's involved in at this point. Now, the next category, and you'll see it's kind of a broad category, public services, and I'll go over the recommendations, but I also want to bring your attention to, you'll see that we have a cap. This is a HUD mandated cap of 15%, which is $318,556. What is it? $8. Okay. We need to make bigger print as I get older. So whatever changes, you guys, if you decide to make changes, keep in mind you cannot go over that dollar amount. That is a HUD mandate.
If you up one, you got it down,
Right.
take one, another one down.
In that category especially. So that's always, this is probably our hardest category when we're making allocations or recommendations.
Let me ask you, James.
Yes, sir.
I don't see children's learning centers on here. Weren't they there, I mean, even last year?
No.
They just not apply?
well, they're funded through the
PRPC.
Child Care
Right.
Well, but I
Initiative.
thought that they had
Not
no, they have a
accountable.
direct line on United Way.
Yeah.
They're a contractor through PR, gotcha.
We have
Never
not
mind.
had
Yeah.
a request from them for several years. I mean, we
Yeah.
had some,
Their request, their line item request goes to United Way. Okay.
Several years
I
ago,
remember.
we went to this new model because the state, we make the match for the state grant, so that for every dollar we put in, $2.50 comes in from the state. So we were able to maximize the child care available. That's when we sort of went away from funding the CLC program,
Mhm.
which used to run that program in its entirety.
Hands it off to somebody else. Very wise decision.
but, real quickly in that area, Jan Warner, $25,000 recommendation. Catholic Family Services, the Interfaith Hunger Project, $23,000. Transportation for the homeless, $9,000. Guy Saunders Day Room Support, $37,938. Maverick Boys and Girls Club, $21,000. That's for the after-school services. For our summer program, $15,062, and that's just making the dollars work. That's why you see a odd number, 62. PRPC, what Vicki was just discussing, $100,000 on our part. Food Net, $25,000. Salvation Army, $33,000. Wesley Community Center for the Families in Crisis, that's a counseling program, $17,558. Wesley Community Center Wrestling Club, $12,000. So that's where our recommendations for that category of funding.
Could I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Where staff recommends funding and then you all cut it less than half or don't take the recommendation, what is the process for that?
The process is, well, we have, in fact, we have a pre-session, go back. We have presence, a bus tour of all of our physical locations. So we actually see the program in working. We'll have presentations from those organizations at a public meeting. We'll have a pre-session prior to our allocation meeting where we'll basically, similar as this, we'll go over requests and people will discuss certain items, and then it's based on a vote as far as what they feel like is going to benefit the community the most.
I'm particularly looking at Maverick Boys and Girls Clubs, and we all know they've had some challenges in the past few years, but they have made some improvements. Are you all waiting to see if they turn the program around, or are you just divvying it up because you initiated a new program like the Wesley Community Center? I mean, I'd like to know, because I know that Maverick's trying really hard, and they do serve a lot of poor kids.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think yes and yes on that. The Maverick, yes, they've had some challenges financially over the last few years. So we're doing our due diligence, we feel like, in the allocations that we made. Now, you mentioned Wesley as far as new programs. Of course, the wrestling club they've had for a few years, and we've funded them previously. The Families in Crisis, I think this may be our first year as far as their counseling program. They've offered counseling, but our first year to fund it. As you can see, we did not recommend funding for the senior citizens program there.
They didn't ask for it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
They initially did. Honestly, Lily, that's the hard decision as to which organization. We try to make sure that we're covering the priorities of the comprehensive plan as far as the elderly, youth, and whatnot, and we just try to spread the dollars out to serve as many segments of the target area geographically and demographically as we can.
Well, and it's a committee, a board decision that's
That's correct.
taken after a lot of study and discussion.
Maverick Club was doing some outreach programs at other places too, where they aren't doing those anymore, are they?
No, they can't
There's,
afford to.
there's a lot that went behind the Maverick. That was a pretty big
Yeah.
discussion, and, you know, quite frankly, the proposal said they were gonna add students, and I'm sure many of you are aware United Way had stopped funding as of August, and I was very involved on that side of it, looking at their financials. They have, and so their proposal was, in my strong opinion, was not honest. It was basically support the existing students they had. It wasn't to add any. He was asked at least 5 times. He assured us, I mean, 3 years I've been on that through United Way, so we had some other knowledge that they've got some serious problems, and quite frankly, they have to match that before we'll give it, because, and I made that proposal because I'm very concerned that they could be throwing money in and go bye-bye. I'm not sure how viable that organization will be, and that's just the truth, in my opinion.
So they're a matching, you'll notice on some of our verbiage that there is some matching funding requirements for some of these allocations actually be made.
When, like the Salvation Army, they requested 118,000, you give them 33, suggesting 33. How do you know that 33 is gonna do them any good if they wanted that much more?
Exactly.
Did you go talk to them?
Yes, we did. Well, basically what, we looked at the actual request, and the $33,000, what they're wanting to do is replace their mattresses and their frames, bed frames, for their whole facility. I understand that I think 10 years old, so they're starting to wear. They're wanting to go to a mattress that is, basically has a plastic cover, because there's been some, thank you, I couldn't remember which album, but yes, bed bug situation, so they wanted something that was easier to be cleaned and maintained. So in our recommendation, we're funding the mattresses themselves. They did indicate that they felt like that they could make do on the bed frames that they have, but their request just wanted it all, but they felt like their bed frames were still in good enough shape where they could actually use them for longer. So that's kind of how that, and again, that was spreading the dollars out, still trying to serve the need, but spread the dollars out to different groups to help different segments of the community. Any more questions in public services?
Again, I think it's important to note, I don't know if the 2 new commissioners know this, but you go to those meetings and they participate. Each of the agencies make presentations, both at the work sessions and the other meetings, and they were involved through this whole discussion. They may not have got what they wanted, but it was not a one-sided discussion.
Oh, no.
Very
Okay.
open discussion.
We try to look at it as a team, even though, we're recommending funding, but we look at it as a team, because they're the ones that do the heavy lifting. All we're doing is providing funding for it, but they're doing the actual service to the community. Under neighborhood improvements, you'll see Amarillo Habitat for Humanity classroom remodeling, $50,000. Amarillo Senior Citizens Kitchen renovations, $134,000. Downtown Women's Center out-of-house renovations, $192,237. YMCA North Branch renovations, $50,000, for a total of $702,751. Of course, you can see the ones that we did not recommend funding. I will say this, in that category, probably, I'm thinking of, the Sears Methods actually withdrew their application.
They did last year too, didn't they, James?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Texas Panhandle Family Planning, they did have some questions as to why their roof wasn't funded. Basically, we looked at that as a maintenance issue, and that's something that they should budget for, roof replacements. And that was a sizable chunk of money also, so again, we're trying to serve the most needs there. Questions there? Owner-occupied housing improvements. And these are really the programs that Dion in the Community Development Office, these are the programs they really oversee, manage on a daily basis. And if you ever get a chance, I would really recommend for you to go by and stop and tell those people down there how good a job they do, because I'm a little biased, but I think they're one of the most impactful departments at the city of Amarillo. It hands down for low to moderate income persons. These people make a difference in lives every single day.
And you think they're what? Say that again?
They're the most impactful. You like that one? That's like.
How'd you like for your commode not to flush?
They take care of it. We send the plumbers out there. I know. I'm going to be biased, and I'm still going to say this group here. Okay, I know there are other. We have a lot of departments.
Real hard.
I'm a little
real
biased.
Good job.
I'm a little biased. I will admit.
So am I.
I'll say that up front.
This is not a contest, James. We shouldn't have started this.
James, if I agree with you, we'll both be wrong.
I'll tell you that. Emergency repair grants, $452,314. The housing rehabilitation assistance, minor $100,000, and rehabilitation support administration, $150,437. That's a total allocation of community development funds of $2,123,758 for that category of funds.
And that's down from how much last year?
We took 50%.
15?
Yes, and expected another 10 this coming year. So basically, a quarter of our budget goes in 2 years. And I'm hoping it's only a quarter with the way the budget talks are going. I don't know, so that's. We just don't know. The home dollars under the Home Investment Partnership Program, you'll see home administration, $88,802. Did I miss something under? No, okay. Home buyers assistance, $250,000 recommendation. Housing rehab assistance, $200,000, and rental rehab, $171,564. Under that home buyers assistance, a lot of you may know this, that money has leveraged millions of dollars of economic activity in Amarillo over the years, because we partner with private lenders. They're actually making the loans, so it's beyond. Do you have an idea of how many millions? I'm gonna say tens of millions of dollars. Am I exaggerating?
I'm thinking 15 million or so.
Just off of this amount,
Right.
Leverage, yeah.
Yes, leverage, yeah.
For home mortgages.
Yeah. So, people don't realize, like I said, this department, there's an economic development component of this department big time. The next area is the community housing development organizations, better known as the CHODOs, Amarillo Habitat, and you see the addition, Glenwood Edition, $30,000, Amarillo Habitat Park Hills Edition, $30,000, also Catholic Family Services, $73,254. And you'll see the corresponding assistance, operating assistance, just below that for each group, $22,200, $22,201. Both of these groups kind of work together. I think they're probably our only CHODOs in Amarillo right now. But you don't see much haggling over funding. They're happy to get what they get, and they make good use of it.
James, it shows like Catholic Family Services requested 225, next year 200 and 200. Has their funding been about equivalent to the request, or has that dropped substantially?
It's dropped. And what as far as Catholic Family Services, the way they've used this rental assistance, we've actually banked this money over a couple of fiscal years, where their allocation over 2 years will be enough for them to go purchase a multifamily unit and then rehab it and then put it on the market at affordable rates. So this is a continuation of what has been started in the previous year.
They've actually improved a lot and done a lot
They've
on
done
their own.
several
Increase the cash flow and everything.
multifamily units.
James, along those lines, the apartments, whatever you want to call it, 2 units, that Hoot Shaw
The Department of Communities, yes.
developed, how have they done, and are there any others, either by Hoot or anybody, on the drawing board? Those are such great units.
It was a great project. I can say this, there have been some challenges there, operating challenges, but overall, I would say it's been a success, and I think they're gonna do nothing but get better. As far as a tangible project, I do not know of one that someone has contacted me personally, and I'm not sure if anyone from the city's been contacted by any of the developers that are looking at doing that right now in Amarillo, so I don't know. I'm always trying to interest people that I talk to about those type of projects, but I don't know when it's, close enough to start saying, hey, it's gonna happen. So.
Are they being kept up? Are
Yes.
occupants keeping up as well as ownership?
The last time I talked to them, they had a 90, whatever their goal is, 95% occupancy rate. And so, yeah, they've had some challenges, but they're working through it. They've been in contact with city departments as far as assistance. They're trying to be a good corporate community partner.
Well, because a success there will hopefully be an incentive for somebody else to try it. And those are great.
Well, I can tell you one thing, this just happened coincidentally at our school board meeting last night. We were looking at our enrollment figures, and Hamlet has the highest enrollment they've had in 20 years, and we're attributing a lot of that to the apartment community because we have a lot of young families in there. So everything affects everything. So that creates some challenges for us from the school district on how where to put them. But that's the kind of things that we have to do. So, but yes, it has been a success.
Good.
James, would you please explain the funding for Habitat's classroom and what that will do for the community, or how it's going to be used? Because that seems very self-serving that Habitat has a classroom, or, they have had one, just not very big or very good.
You're right. Thank you for that. Yes, Habitat does, I guess they're probably our main training source for new homeowners through several programs. Habitat's own program, through our home buyers assistance program, we can refer our applicants to do basic home ownership training that a lot of us probably take for granted. How you pay your taxes, how you maintain a home, how to be a good neighbor, those kind of things that oftentimes persons that this is their first time ever in home ownership, that's not a given. You have to teach them that. So not only will they be training their own applicants, but they will be referred to by several other agencies to train their applicants on home ownership, rental, how to live in a rental unit. I really see that program growing, and I can tell you the other agencies that were at our meetings, you can see that they understand the benefit of that, and several of them committed that, hey, we'll be sending our clients there also.
Chuck, isn't it a requirement from United Way?
If I can add, United Way 2 years ago decided they wanted to build in financial stability as one of their core, they've got 3 objectives, and that was one of them. And Habitat took that on. They're gonna train all of our building financial stability classes go through Habitat as well. So all those agencies that get funding, Salvation Army, Downtown Women's, any of those, they have to go through those classes. So Habitat has taken that on, which a lot of people are trying to offer it, hit and miss. We're trying to get it all funneled and go, and so that's one of the reasons we felt strongly it was a good program to have the classroom there and build it nice, so help all nonprofits. In order for them to get their funding, they have to go to these classes, which is everything from plumber to how to get a checking account, how to build your credit, how to fix your credit. There's 10 classes, and they go on every semester. Basically they go 10 weeks, and then they start another one.
Taught by volunteers.
Yeah. At this point, no money has been put into it except for Habitat offering the place.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, on behalf of our committee, we really appreciate the leadership that the city commission and staff have given us over the years. We feel like we've just been assisting you on carrying a lot of the weight. I think we're probably over $80 million over the lifetime of HUD funds coming into the city of Amarillo. That's direct money. I can't tell you what the leverage figure would be, but if it wasn't for HUD and the way the city's used those funds over the years, I can't imagine what Amarillo would be like at this point.
Well, we better be thinking it because we're not gonna get HUD
I
funding
understand.
forever.
Well, and I can tell you this, honestly, from our committee standpoint, I think we're thinking smarter and thinking out of the box more as far as what programs are gonna work, what things are gonna be sustainable. We encourage a lot of collaboration between the different community groups. It's not where you stand alone and come up with a project. You better come up with a project that you're gonna be able to bring in other people like Habitat, because it's gonna take everybody working together. I don't think any groups are gonna be strong enough by themselves to survive.
Any questions?
Good work, James.
Oh, well, I did tell them about the roofing project. Oh, also, there was some questions from Family Support Services as to why their counseling program was not chosen in that category. If you recall, not Maverick, Wesley, their Families in Crisis counseling program was chosen. It wasn't anything about Family Support Services. They've been a long time collaboration with us as far as funds and services. The committee just chose to go with Wesley as far as counseling. So they still felt counseling was important. Those are probably the only two organizations that I could think of that had a few questions, at least voiced them to me to be aware of. So again, we remember that we're just recommending funding to you, so we don't take it personally if you make a change. Like I said, especially in the public services category, but any category, if you make a change, you're going to take from something. So you've got to think both steps if you're going to do that. Otherwise, it gets really, really hairy.
Can't be done.
It can be done, but it can get.
It has been done.
It has been done. It can get hairy, though. Believe me.
Well, but I mean, you can't, you have to still stay within the limit.
You have to stay within the
Yeah,
limit,
yeah,
but
you
you're
can't.
making a change on
Yeah,
one. You're
yeah,
taking it
yeah.
from somebody else.
Net zero.
It's two changes for every change you're going to make.
Yeah.
It'll be two changes.
I don't know what this body will do, but obviously we want to thank you for your efforts.
Sure.
1989, I think, is when you joined that committee. And
It's been a long time.
All of his life.
He was sitting next to
Just
me.
really
all
started
along.
he was 12. He's the first.
Came out of the
board
hospital
member.
and went on that committee.
He was 12. But the fact is that whole committee puts a lot of effort in. They do a lot of work. They have to say yes and no. And they have to do it very judiciously, and I think you should be commended. And please take that back to your committee.
I was
It's
supposed
just
to do that.
I was able to go to that last meeting and you watch and you think about all the heartstrings that are being
It
pulled.
gets tough.
It's not simple. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you. Good work.
And we'll see you in 3.
Thank you.
Thanks, James. Thanks. Thanks,
Thanks
Chuck.
for all your.
So man, I would
Good to
tell
see you,
I know,
Chuck.
I'm afraid y'all are quite prestigious. I don't want to get stuff out of bounds.
I think that's a quorum with y'all three being.
I know, that's what I'm thinking, man. It's like Emerald National.
No, that's a big
Not
group.
me. They're,
That's a lot of times you still.
Mayor, if I could jump in and let me back up just a moment. You will soon be brought corrected minutes for July 11 and July 14. Your July 11 minutes in your packet reference that you were at the service center. You were actually at the shooting complex that day. And then July 14th, as noted, Commissioner Escajeda was not present. So those will be two before we get into the meeting.
Hey, other quick,
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
the shooting complex was that what we had that contest?
Yeah,
Okay, I
and
was
who won?
just.
it's where the rain came.
I think you and Jared had a
It's
draw.
where the rain came.
I was
Yes.
trying to find
I
somebody
wonder
to have a
if-
contest with me jumping out the window at the fireground.
yeah.
did.
Nobody,
I did.
Mayor
I
did.
hung up, you didn't hang upside down, I did.
I don't think that was intentional, Mayor.
It was. It was. They said hang upside down, throw your legs up, put your head back.
Yeah, but I didn't have them holding my rope.
Seriously, that's true, you didn't. Isn't this supposed to be, is this supposed to be 20 North 8 or 0? It's,
The correct answer is that it does not have an address per
That's
TRAD, so the 0 defaults in the database. Commissioner Eads has
I had the language.
gotcha. Okay, that's all I wanted, we didn't get tracked of. Okay.
Is it on the east or west side of the
What's
street? Well, no,
I don't
to
know.
know, indicate, we need a very precise description so that we have to put the owner on notice, so someone reading it cold would know it's their land.
I thought you were just making.
No,
Attorney law.
no, well, I am.
He is.
Does Is that number clear?
I'm sorry, call Vicky again, we don't have that.
Would you take that to Vicky?
Sure.
It says south of the northwest quarter of section block. I don't know if that helps you.
With an
North
eastern
and west.
South of the
orientation.
northwest.
So would it be the west side of the street?
He's gonna find out.
Well, we do have a legal.
You
number.
got
Draw that
Yeah,
one
because
out.
of
The
the-
regular track
sufficient.
beginning at 1673.
Mayor, moving into the
Okay.
consent agenda.
Moving around.
Would be the southwest one.
Okay, y'all are gonna force me to go get my maps.
Let's move on.
They'll get it on.
Mayor, item A on the consent agenda, this is the annual purchase of sulfur dioxide. My long-running joke is, this is the product we use to take the chlorine out of the water after we're required to put the chlorine in the water. So,
Okay.
therefore, there is your sulfur dioxide for the year.
That's an entire year, huh?
That's an entire year. Those of you that went on that particular tour, at the point you saw that water coming down, that man-made waterfall, you could smell that chlorine there, and then it's taken out immediately following.
I smell a lot of things there. Chlorine was the best.
I may regret having done that one.
October's when you do that one.
And then we
There, item B on the consent agenda. This is the next step in the bus stop improvement contract. Again, 80% FTA money, Federal Transit Administration money, and the remainder local, all on hand and on budget.
They're getting a lot of press on the bus stops.
We have been, and I think rightfully so, that has turned into a difficult process. Item C, this is the purchase of mowers and utility carts. These are used at the wastewater treatment plants, surface water treatment plants, the golf courses, and by parks maintenance. We're proud of this one. This is a 7% decrease from the last time that we purchased these in 2009.
On the same equipment?
On the same equipment, and the difference is that historically this equipment was purchased on the cooperative purchasing contracts that are statewide. And we peeled off those items that were not truly, sole source unique items and said, let's bid them. And you can see some local bidders have stepped up and have a piece of the action, and your city has realized the savings.
Good.
There are still some things that are bought off of that co-op, but it's generally items that only one manufacturer makes them. Potter County Wellfield Collection System, change order number 3. You do see a previous change order on there in the amount of $78,000. That was approved by the prior commission. That was a change requested by the landowner to have power lines put underground, and they paid for that. Of course, it's our contract, so it came through the commission. Change order today is just under $109,000. This allows us to kind of jump ahead of the sequence and go ahead and equip one of those wells with a pump. The goal of that's twofold. Mainly, that's so that we can begin testing these 19+ miles of the big pipe and the 20 miles of the small pipe with water out of that well, rather than backfilling those lines from your city water system. So, and then when we're done, we'll turn around and push that water back into town and have about another $1 million a day coming out of that.
So that's really more like a prepayment on the next phase of the project rather than.
In a large part, it is.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, the biggest thing is we were intending to bleed $1 million a day out of the city system and start pushing it backwards until you begin to fill those lines. And I don't know how many gallons are in 19 miles of 48-inch pipe.
15, it calculates to around 15 million just to fill the pipe. Then we have 2-3 million tanks to fill, flush, chlorinate, and then do that twice. So we estimate around 20 to 25 million for testing.
Which, at these levels, in today's levels, would have been, we would have felt it.
Oh, yeah, it would have an effect on our supply.
Yeah,
Especially on every Saturday.
yeah, that's what I meant.
So,
Can you do that?
What's that?
Is there anything you can do with that?
They're gonna sit back into the system
Well,
and
the
chlorinate.
the first step is to chlorinate, and that chlorinated water, then we have to dechlorinate and discharge that. And then the next, when we flush that out, then that water is potable. And from that point on,
the first one's hyperchlorinated. You don't want to capture it.
yes, much higher than a swimming pool. It would be It's dangerous.
You'll feel it in your eyes.
Yes. So that first step has to be flushed out.
Same thing with the pump tests. If they wanted to push up the berm and make a small pond with the water.
The second phase, after we flush that and do pressure testing, that water remains in this pond.
But, you know, the Carson County line's that big and that long as well, and give you a sense of just how much water each day is sitting in the pipe.
And you have to put that chlorine in there at that high level to kind of sterilize the line.
Exactly.
It is required by the rules of the state to get to a certain level to verify that disinfection.
You take bacteriological tests, those stuff.
Okay.
Mayor, the next item, we're asking for an amendment to a tower site that we have up at Hazel and Echo, city-owned property that has a privately owned telecommunications tower on it. The company that owns that, Global Tower Partners, has asked for basically some additional extensions to be put upon that lease. In exchange, they're doing two things that we don't have today. We're getting 6 spots, 350 foot high on the deal. We have 5 today at 300. It's going from today, there is not a lease payment associated with that particular lease, to $1,000 a month lease payment that adjusts by the CPI at every extension. So I think this one is very much to the benefit of both parties. I presume they have a customer who needs a long-term site. That's why they're,
And there's no any cell phone service on that tower.
there are cell bases on that tower.
Reception on AT&T.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Can't speak to that.
Well, I think we should.
That's not AT&T tower that
Okay.
is servicing that area.
Called self-dealing.
I'm just trying to take care of my patients.
Self. Yeah.
My patients and their dropped calls.
Mayor, moving to item F if we could. This is a license and hold harmless agreement where private fiber optic line for Happy State Bank and Trust is in the public right of way. Standard agreement. Mayor, item G is the standard acceptance of a drainage easement up in Potter County on the loop.
There's nothing in this consent agenda that requires a presentation out there, is there?
Mayor, I don't believe so, subject to y'all's call. Mayor, we do have some closed session items today, but I know that you and I had discussed, and it's been a hot topic, looking at items for a future agenda. Possibly your thoughts and schedules on when you wanted to roll out the notion of the graffiti committee and the briefings and the actions.
So everybody knows, we're having a committee meeting at 4 o'clock on Monday. And that committee is really turning out to be a good group. We have about 12 people so far, including the police chief, 3 emissaries from SPS, 1 from Intergas, 1 from Suddenly, and some individuals that volunteered to do it. Gene Shelburne, they asked to lead it. He's asked that the churches participate. I have a former graffiti tag artist that I toured the city with, looking at how they fix it. He sees the need to change it. He and I don't necessarily agree on how to change it, but we'll work through that. But he also has a plethora of information about how this happens. Joe Jones is from Texas Blue Lake is going to be on the committee. He's looking into ways to clean it. So we have a good group to start with. We'll do that at 4 o'clock Monday. Throw some ideas out, talk about what the next phases of this will be. The city's looking at legal ramifications and ability to both strengthen the ordinance for punishment and also to deal with issues that have to do with private property rights. So we're dealing with those, and hopefully as it goes down the road, we'll look at this a little more and see what we want to present to the commission.
Now, how are the utilities on it?
They spend a bunch of money every year cleaning them up. In fact, Jarrett, you might go through that. I know they had a great response from SPS. You called them, and Intergas, or who was it you called, and boy, they got right out.
I actually spoke to both of them several months ago, and they're as keen on solving it as we are. They're taking some extra efforts to try to prevent the big meter boxes and the junction boxes from getting painted, and if they do, you know, to dealing with that. Mr. Shelburne, as you mentioned. I think, Mayor's, I know that your staff's about finished with the legal part of the briefing. They could work with you next week on that, and then
Okay.
possibly do your first set of work at the commission on August the 2nd, which would be an evening meeting. So,
The AISD is gonna have a rep there too, because their philosophy is don't let.
On
the
this
sun-
committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't want the sun to ever shine on this. Their idea is as soon as it gets there, get rid of it. And they said they've been very successful with that. We also had a resource come back. Steve Myers got an email from the story they did on Channel 7, and it's a resource for some other, there is an organization in the country that helps cities beat this back. It's called nograph.org. And they have a website. It's a former peace officer that's for 25 years has helped cities develop plans. He's got some technical suggestions and some mapping suggestions, software and everything. So really, at this point, we're brainstorming for what's best. And if somebody else in this group would like to attend that, I'd welcome you to be there. 4 o'clock Monday, right here. Anybody?
I'm not gonna be here on Monday early.
Okay.
but-
Welcome on it. Will you be able to come? Okay.
And the
Okay.
charge to the committee is just, to figure out a way to.
Brainstorm and figure out, but we have to figure out the legal ability to press this further. We have to figure out the private property issues. We have to figure out how quickly to clean it up. If the city wants to offer sort of a carrot and stick type deal where you offer some incentive to do it, but you have, a stick if you don't clean it up. And so we're just getting into this. A lot of resources to look into.
I'd like to get to the people that do it, and the parents, so a lot of kids will be out at midnight.
Would you hit them over the head with a 2 before like
Yeah,
y'all
I
people
would.
losing water? Okay.
I
Well,
mean,
if you went out-
if you can't see them, you can't
If
stop
you
them.
went out to Eddie Wynn's, I went out to Eddie Wynn's 2 weeks before he got hit, and took about 35 pictures of his building just trying to get my arms around. I mean, it was unbelievable what was there. And of course, he gets hit, and you go back out and see the damage to the vehicles and damage to doors it was doing. Of course, he has a valid concern. He says, Paul, I can spend $5,000, $6,000, $12,000 cleaning this up. But he says immediately it starts again, and he said, we have to deal with the enforcement. The police chief will be at the meeting on Monday. So we're just gonna really kind of brainstorm.
What do they do to these vehicles?
Spray paint all over the windows, all over the doors, all over the windshield. They were unusable. That also happened though over at Dosh Cleaners on Paramount. I mean, I went in there to pick up laundry, and she said, look at what happened last night. All over the windows, all over the doors of their 2 delivery vehicles. I don't know. Joe Jones came up with a deal. He said that you can actually clean this off with Dawn soap in many cases. He said, I didn't believe it, but he said, I went out there trying to experiment with it, and he said, I used Dawn soap, and it just came off like, couldn't believe it.
Depends on the nature of the surface that's painted.
Yes.
Depends on how long it's been there, how much it's soaked in, and depends on the type of paint or ink that they use. I've been doing the research. And
Okay.
an interesting point, we all think it's those dadgum kids. Portland, Oregon Police Department study found that the majority are between ages 18 and 35. These are adults who are doing it in many cases.
We also know there's some artwork being done, and I use that term loosely, but when you look at what's done on the top of the Barfield or the Santa Fe, those people are not just trying to tag something, they're trying to display something else. And, the police have been working on this steadily, quietly, and there's other things that we'll hear from the police chief at that meeting about what they're doing and how they're dealing with it. But it is it's a difficult problem. It's something you have to stay on top of. And my view is that we have to really make an effort to do what basically the school system said they plan to do or they have been doing, is get it off immediately. But it's a comprehensive thing. It's everything from dumpsters to utility boxes to homes to businesses to vehicles now. Schools, I heard Puckett School got hit last night. And Jarrett believes after we had the stories the other day, the problem is that those people are reveling in all this coverage. I'd like to also lock them up and put their picture in front of the paper because they're destroying people's property. You can't keep affording. Eddie Wynn says, I can't keep passing this along to my customers. I have to do something. I don't know what. And he's right. So anyway, we're going to have a multi-pronged effect and opportunity to deal with it.
And there we will have that, your meetings next week and the legal briefs and so forth, and then we'll come back before the commission on August the 2nd for a briefing and consideration at that point. putting your group together formally and telling them to go.
Okay, good.
Go forth and non-paint.
Yeah. There's also somebody from the probation department coming, and they have had groups that have gone out and helped clean it up as youth service to offset.
Community service
Yeah,
projects, yeah.
and the churches. Gene Shelber thinks he can get churches help to go out and have cleanup projects. So we just need to explore different opportunities to deal with this. Okay.
Can I bring up one more agenda item, possible future agenda item? And we talked about it before, and this is your committee, not mine, but the Environmental Advisory Committee, we were gonna think of a charge for them.
You should have the draft resolution next week,
Okay.
and I think we still possibly need one more name for consideration as well.
Okay, I think I get one more.
The gentleman that
You're going to guard, clean guard people.
opinion article this morning that you have me.
Okay.
Help me with the name. He does it a lot.
Council says on a separate meeting.
Apparently.
Moving along.
Mayor, I think we're ready for a closed session.
Okay.
If you are.
Oh,
Ready.
I think he was confused as to the